Your hosts are here, Sammie and Michelle. By the end of this podcast, you'll know them well. Adulting, navigating the journey of life. Careers to relationships, pain and strife. Put down the rule book, rethink the status quo. If there's another direction you wanna go, find purpose, passion and mastery in all that you do with Status Post Adulting.
Hey, Status Post Adulting fam! This is Sammie
and Michelle,
and you're listening to the 69th episode of Status Post Adulting, where we are talking about productivity tools. But first, let me check in with my co-host, Michelle. How are you doing, Michelle?
I'm doing well, Sammie. How are you?
I am doing good. Today, I was listening to Paula Pant's podcast, Afford Anything, and she is doing a Friday special with Suni Rao. They talk about long-distance real estate investing together, and it is so awesome. And Paula's Nepali, and Suni, I believe, is Indian. And so it's just like brown girl magic, and it is amazing. And also really interesting.
I love that, Sammie. I recently read this article about ketchup by Malcolm Gladwell, which I did not enjoy.
Like the sauce?
Yeah, like the condiment. The thing is I saw this Twitter thread that was like, oh, what's something that you read that like changed your life that other people probably haven't read? And someone posted this, and I was like, wow, this article about ketchup must be crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it took me forever to finish, first off. It was very long.
What was it about, like, in regards to ketchup in particular?
It was talking about how mustard, there used to be only one type of mustard, and they were able to find a way to expand people's palate in terms of trying different types of mustard. But they could not successfully do the same for ketchup.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I could see that.
Well, I thought they didn't go into the ketchup stuff really the way I expected them to. I feel like I didn't really come out satisfied with an answer. I don't know. Wouldn't recommend.
There's only one ketchup, and I think that's kind of what the article's saying, you know? Sometimes there's just only one of something, and you can try to spice it up, but there's no point.
But the thing is, you said that in one sentence. More so, I mean, I think if you're like a condiment connoisseur or someone interested in this type of stuff, you know, I'm not saying it was a bad article, but someone shared this as a life-changing article that no one else had read.
I do feel like if you're a condiment connoisseur, you probably have acid reflux, and it's a job that needs to stop.
Not all condiments are tomato-based.
It's not even that. Like, a lot of them are acidic.
I believe that to be true because of the vinegar used to increase the shelf life, which I learned from this article.
See, it's not useless. Maybe that person had a huge acid reflux problem and then stopped eating condiments and was like literally life-changing article.
Maybe that person was planning to start a ketchup business and then realized that there was no point going against big ketchup. Glad you found something interesting. I read something that did not impact my life the way I expected it to.
And that's why today we're talking about productivity tools. We do not want you wasting your time on articles about ketchup that are not interesting.
It was interesting, just not life-changing.
Yeah, sorry. We don't want you wasting time on articles about ketchup that are not life-changing.
Exactly, Sammie. And in general, we talk a lot about different ways to be productive or different things that we do that we think have really helped our life. So we thought it would be cool to pop open our phones, pop open our computers, and take a look at the tools that we really have enjoyed.
So true, Michelle. And the first category of productivity tools that we are going to be talking about is organization tools. If you're listening to this show, chances are you love to stay organized, or at least you are trying to stay organized, and there are tools to help you do that.
Exactly, Sammie. I have to admit, for me, I know I'm not the most organized person in the world, but I try so many different things and apps, and I always come back to my Notes app. I love the Notes app that comes on the Apple phone. I literally have 500 or 600 notes, not including the ones that got deleted in the great phone deletion of 2016.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Michelle, because the number one app that I have for this organization category is also my notes app.
Ding, 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 ding.
Ding, ding, ding. This is like the best app. And now Apple has other features where you can make bullet points and check things off and make things bold. And that just really took it to the next level. It's like, I don't need anything more advanced than the Notes app.
It's so true, Sammie. I love that you can check off now when you make a grocery list. I would say a downside is I have a weird attachment to my grocery list in my Notes app. Like, I don't go back and delete them. I just make new lists. So that's something I have to fix.
Yeah, that is something you need to fix. Also, Michelle and I have a shared grocery list, so I don't know what these other grocery lists are.
I often put together my own grocery list and then I import it into that list.
Got it. Yeah. So, I mean, another great thing about the Notes app is you can share notes. So, like, we have a shared shopping list, and shopping is not a simple task for us anymore because we are limited in the number of places we can go. So we can organize it by, like, Costco, aka something that requires driving 2 hours, or using the app, or using the website for delivery, or our local grocery store. And that really helps us stay organized and keep track of things that we need.
It's true, Sammie. Other things I use the Notes app for: writing down content for our podcast. I use it actually when I'm taking notes about books and podcasts. And so I've now created folders for books and podcasts that I listen to because sometimes I like to jot something down really quick.
Newsflash to me, you can create folders. What?
I know. I just started doing it actually, which is a huge change.
Oh my God, that is so exciting.
It's so nice. Usually I just go through all of my notes, but now I can go to books and actually see the notes that I've written down for books.
Nice.
Check out the folder feature. And yeah, there are so many other apps available that do this stuff, but I have to say, and I've heard other people say it too, like, I think the Notes app, like, Apple has done a really good job with it. Weirdly.
I agree.
So if you have Apple phone, do the Notes app.
Yes, I know. I also put to-do lists on there. I put a list of books that I want to read. Any ideas that come to me, I put on the Notes app. And also any insights I have from being on the plane.
The physical plane.
I'm not sure if Michelle and I have talked about this before, but anytime we enter the plane, one, we are more likely to cry because for some reason...
I just want to clarify really quick that you're talking about a plane in the sky.
Yeah.
Not like the fifth plane.
What?
Like the fifth dimension.
That's the dimension, not a plane. I'm talking about aeroplane.
Yes.
Yeah, airplanes, they're a great place for having ideas. Like, literally, I feel like, you know, maybe my brain is closer to God and the insights come in hardcore and quickly there. And also 1,000 times more likely to cry on a plane.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I cry all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I do this weird thing on planes, not related to anything, but I don't like to really watch videos or movies or TV shows on the plane. I get kind of bored really easily. It
doesn't matter if it's like a 12-hour flight to Europe. Michelle and I are not participating in visual media on the plane.
That just validates to me that I'm actually pretty bored about it. But what I will do is I will watch over someone else's shoulder the movie they're watching. I don't know why. I can watch the same movie myself.
Like, I'm like, I don't participate in visual media. And then, like, I just, like, watch their movie. And it's, like, it's not like it's, like, they're paying. Like, the movie would be free for me. But I just watch it over their shoulder.
There's no subtitles. Actually, sometimes I've seen the movie and I was watching Blindside over someone's shoulder the other day, and I was, like, crying.
Oh.
I myself was watching nothing.
They, like, look over, and, like, you have nothing on your screen, and you're bawling your eyes out.
And I'm just staring directly at them.
I know. One time I had this lady be like, oh, do you, like, want to watch it with me? Like, you can share my blanket. And I was like, nah. Like,
That's very funny.
That's just a little uncomfortable, to be honest.
That's so funny. Yeah, no, it gets really awkward, but I totally agree. And it is, a great place to jot down ideas, especially since you don't have Wi-Fi or internet. And I do also feel like, like you're in the heavens, you know? It makes sense as your mind is just boom.
Yes. I mean, the other things I added for the organization category was for budgeting. As you guys may have known if you've looked at our Instagram and seen our reels, I use Google Docs and Google Sheets. Nothing crazy advanced there. And I do use the Box app / Box in general for keeping all my documents instead of hoarding paperwork. So this is like super important for me for my car stuff. Like if I go get my car taken in somewhere, I can just scan in the receipt. So I know like when was the last time I changed my air filter and all that stuff. And all my PA related documents, which is a lot of documents, I just keep in a folder, which is good because like sometimes the credentialing department will like email you and be like, we need your like diploma and your resume and everything at my last job. Not so much in my new job, but I can pull it out of a box and like attach everything and not have to go through a trillion different folders.
Yeah, I hear you, Sammie. I think it's really good to have some sort of cloud storage. Shout out to my college for giving us unlimited Google Drive.
Wait, for life?
For life!
What the heck?
All that money I spent on college, and this is what I get. It's honestly funny. It's something I don't think I thought about or appreciated when I was in college, literally at all. I don't even know how many files I had. And now it's so nice. I literally back up all of our podcast episodes in Google Drive. All my photos are on Google Drive. I don't have to pay for any of it. So cloud storage is great, but it's nice when it's free.
That's super nice. I mean, Box is also free, but I haven't, I mean, to some degree.
Yeah, up until like a point, obviously. And obviously, you know, you're giving away your data to these people. So I will say in terms of paperwork, health paperwork, car paperwork, all of that stuff, not a productivity app. I have a binder with all of those things. Just because the DMV requires a hard copy a lot, which is like annoying. The DMV itself, I was thinking about this because I was just reorganizing all my papers. The DMV is the reason I have to keep so many old papers, and it drives me insane.
So true. It's so true.
I have every W-2 from when I was born.
Wait, really? Because, like, I don't.
Well, I mean, no, I'm just saying, like, since I started working, obviously.
Right, no, but I feel you, because, like, I don't. I guess that's something people do, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so... Oh, because one of the few things that has my social security number on it.
What about your social security card?
That's a different problem that I don't want to talk about.
Got it.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
Productivity tools for managing your time.
Spicy. This is a fun one.
This is a fun one. This is a big one for me because I'm not great at naturally managing my time. And a major time suck for me is my phone. So having these things paired together make a lot of sense. We talked a little about it before, so I won't go too much into it. But in our time tracking episode, I talked about how I use the Now Then app to track my time. I don't use it as much anymore, but it's really good when I'm trying to get a baseline for how I'm spending my time. It just goes constantly, and you can click every time you switch items, and you can really see how much time you're putting into things. I appreciated how much time I put into the podcast, or how much time I switched tasks without even realizing it. So I would say the Now and Then app is a big one for me. Now Then app.
Yeah, the Now/Then app, huge. You just input everything that you're doing, and they have different colors. And you can just see like how much time you spent on everything. I feel like it's something that like everybody needs to do once a quarter because it leads to a lot of self-reflections on what's going on in your life. And you know what? I should probably do it again now that we've moved.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I used that a lot before quitting my last job, and it kind of helped me decide to quit my last job. So I think the Now Then app is a really big one.
Totally agree, Sammie. Plus, I know there's like screen time and stuff, which is nice, but that's not a perfect system. It doesn't really work if you're not on your phone. It doesn't really work if you delete your apps, which I do all the time. So this, I think, is like a nice middle ground for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For my number one under managing my time, I have the Toggle Track app, which it's similar to Now Then, but like what I like about it in particular is like I use it for tracking how much time I spend charting outside of work. I can be as specific as tracking how much time it takes for each chart, but then also have that under the category of charts and see how much time total I spent doing work stuff. Or I can just track the fact that I'm charting. And it's just, for me, it's just like a nice way for me to keep track of like how much time outside of work I'm spending on work.
I agree, Sammie. Speaking of tracking your working schedule, one thing I like to use is the Pomodoro timer. Sometimes I'll actually use a website. Basically what it is it's something along the lines of you work for 40 minutes and you take a break for 5 minutes and then you alternate doing that. And I really like to do that because I have a tendency where I'll be like, oh, I want to work. And then I'll overwork myself and then I won't want to work and then I'll be tired. It's a nice, simple way to set up intervals of working for me so that I can pace out my work, gives me a chance to like focus and get into deep work while also giving me healthy breaks. And either it's a timer or sometimes I just use my normal timer on my phone.
Yeah, I like using that too. As far as controlling my screen time, I just use the screen time app on the iPhone. I know it's not perfect, but it just helps me keep track, especially if I'm using something like Instagram or TikTok, which, especially when we were working on the podcast, when I had a break and I was working on the podcast a lot more, that was really hard as far as Instagram and TikTok. I don't use it regularly now because not really doing anything. But in case, I notice that I'm starting to creep up on the screen time, that's an option.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sammie. I would add to that with the screen time option. I also set timers on my most addictive apps. So if I find that I'm spending a lot of time on certain things, like you said, like Instagram should take me a couple of seconds to post something, but the next thing I'm on the explore page and I'm watching all the latest celebrity gossip and yuck. So I have like a 15-minute timer on that. I have a timer on Amazon. I just set up timers so that, it's pretty easy to circumvent, but at least my phone pops it and says, hey, knock knock, your time is up. And that's really nice. So I like that as well.
Yeah. I also put down manual calendar.
Like a physical calendar? Or?
Yeah. It's like a little paper calendar. I usually like little small pocket-sized ones. And the ones that only have the month view, because I don't need the week view. Okay, I'm not a student or anything like that. Things are not that eventful. I just need the month view. And that way I can put down like my vacations or when I requested PTO and little things like that and keep track of things for the year.
I will one-up you, Sammie, in the digital way and say that I use my Google Calendar for a lot of things. I actually used to have a different calendar too that I would use, like a specific calendar app. I would use my calendar app for my social stuff. And that was huge for me because for the first time I moved from San Francisco, I was really, really busy. And so it was really nice to be able to like plot out my social calendar. It made me a lot less flaky because I could actually pull up my calendar and be like, oh, actually, I can't do that because I'm busy. And it let me plan free days for myself. Even now, I still use my calendar. I use my Google Calendar with my friends when we have vacations planned. Anytime anything pops up, I pop it on my calendar. And it's so nice. Like if you don't use any kind of calendar for your social life, I highly recommend it because it's just helpful to see what you have going on. And you can take ownership and change it if you want to.
So true. And the next category that we have for productivity tools is education.
Oh, yeah, Sammie.
As status post adultingers, we like to educate ourselves outside of work, outside of the normal things. We like to help grow our knowledge, and there are a lot of tools to do that. For me, my biggest one, being a crazy podcast listener, is I like the Overcast app a lot. I don't know why, yes, there's the Apple Podcast apps. Yes, there's Spotify. For some reason, I just really like Overcast and its platform. They did make some recent adjustments, which I'm getting used to. But typically, I am a huge fan of the Overcast app, and that's where I go to if I want to just pick which podcast I want to listen to and listen to it.
Nice, Sammie. I don't use the Apple app either, which I think is not great. Though if I send links, I like to send them via Apple because then it saves in people's podcast app now, which I really like.
Sneaky.
Pro tip if you want to force your friends to listen to things. But I really like the Spotify app. Not much to say there. Spotify is a huge company. I think they've been investing a ton of money into their podcast stuff. And I like it at the end of the year when they collect the info. So I don't know. I like to have that mix of my podcast and my music for Spotify paid version. I don't know if that makes a difference.
So true. I, as everybody probably knows by now, am not on the paid version, and I'm perfectly fine with it. As far as other podcast apps, I do like to have the NPR One app. As you know, Michelle would probably hate this app because she hates NPR.
Wow.
But the NPR One app is nice, especially when I'm doing things like charting or I'm not trying to hardcore listen to a podcast, but I do like to have something going on in the background. I love putting on the NPR One app because it'll just go through all the different NPR podcasts and news and stuff. And so it's just a nice way to catch up on everything going on. But I don't have to be 100% listening to it either.
I will say, Sammie, if you're somebody who's getting into podcasts or you like podcasts, I think it's worthwhile to try a couple different apps and see what you like. Because I find the experience to be very different. And when I enjoy the experience of listening to the podcast and I find it very easy to use and it doesn't do weird things that I don't like, I don't know. There's so many podcast apps out there and you can literally get, say, Status Post Adulting on any of those apps. So it's good to mess around a little bit and say like, hey, like which is the one, the best podcast app is the one that you listen to. And so if you find that you don't like the one you're using that much, there's probably a better one out there.
So true, Michelle. And I know Michelle and I are both huge fans of Audible. If we have to purchase a book, getting it off Audible is awesome. And it's the best way to listen to like a trillion books. If you want to be the most well-read person at the cocktail party, then get Audible.
Wow, Sammie. We got to call Audible up and tell them to sponsor our podcast.
Literally.
Because ringing endorsement. Since this isn't a sponsored podcast, I will also share, if you don't know about Libby.
Yes.
I know it's getting more popular, but if you don't know about Libby, it is the absolute best way to get audiobooks and books on your Kindle with a library card. That's right, people.
Mm-hmm. Libby, Libby.
That is right. Having fun isn't hard if you have a library card.
So true. And you can have multiple library cards. So that's right, people. You may have lived in multiple places and you may have access to tons of libraries. And I hope you are blessed with that. And if you are, get the Libby app and get your audiobooks and get your books on Libby. You can even get magazines. Like sometimes I'll like get cookbooks sometimes. Like It is so fun. And that's the real way to listen to tons of books because they're also like for sure free. Yeah. So it's the best thing ever.
100%. You can push ebooks to your Kindle, which is really nice. You can listen to audiobooks on your phone. You can download them. Sammie's right. Like don't tell anybody, but I have multiple library cards, which is so nice because some libraries have books and some don't. So get a library card everywhere you move because you never know which ones are the ones with the best selection.
So true.
It's nice because you can read a lot of books, but at the same time, sometimes I don't like them or sometimes I don't get into it and I don't feel like I wasted any money on it. You do have to wait for books like a normal library, even though they are electronic. So that's when I tend to turn to Audible. Like I like that Audible has options for purchasing books at a good price, in my opinion, for Audible books. And for the Audible Plus that I have, they have like different books that you can listen to for free. So I like that as well. So Audible is a really nice option. I think paired with Libby, that's really great. And if you cancel your Audible subscription every few months, they'll offer you a deal. So that's what I do.
This is the kind of trash that is going on. But yes, Michelle is correct. If you, threaten to cancel and all this stuff, you can get a deal. So
it's true, guys. I've been getting great deals on Audible. So I'm just letting you know what the real secret is. And to wrap that all up, I will say, once again, the Notes app, listening to books is great because you can do different stuff while you're listening to the book. I think that's the real productivity hack. You can do it while you read. You can do it while you clean, while you water the grass, whatever fun stuff you're into. I was listening to deep work while I was like driving from the airport through the desert. And it was like the perfect place to listen to a book about digital minimalism and staying focused. I was like, exactly. I'm like in the desert, just so focused and ready to like do deep work.
So true.
That was super nice. And I take notes on my Notes app. I'll just jot things down. If something catches my eye, or if there's a turn of phrase that I like, I will do that. And a lot of times I do read back on my Notes app, and I really like seeing those little bit of nuggets for the podcast and the books that I read.
And Michelle, our final category is health.
So true.
Health, productivity. There are tools that you can use to help manage your health, manage your spirituality, manage all the things.
I would argue, Sammie, that if you manage your health, you will be more productive.
So true. That is a good argument.
Thank you.
For me, the first app that I had on here is my Fitbit app. I'm not a person who wears my Fitbit all day long, although I totally support that. I put it on when I do my exercise because I want to see how my heart rate is and how high it gets and for how long. So Fitbit is great for that because I can just be like, how long am I in my target heart rate zone? And it gives me that information.
That's a good point, Sammie. When I used to wear my Apple Watch, when it would last longer than 5 seconds, I like to mostly use it to track like exercise stuff as well.
I also have a journal app on my phone because I don't want to just like overload my Notes app, with random journaling stuff. Any major thoughts that I have, I put in my Notes app. But like, for example, I wake up and I have a dream and I'm trying to like log my dreams, I'll like write it down in my journal app. Or when I'm like, let's say, for example, I'm on the toilet and I'm just like I'll journal there. Or like anytime I want to journal, but I don't have my journal, like my actual physical journal, I'll use my journal app.
That's a nice one, Sammie.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say too, I love a good meditation app.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different ones out there. You can use Spotify or different free ones. I do use the Andrew Johnson meditation app. Shout out to our interview a while ago. Check it out if you haven't. I really love his voice. I love the way he sets up his app. So for me, that's my personal choice. But I think anytime I go back to meditation, it's such a good way to just get me back on focus, help me scan my body, see if there is like underlying anxiety or stress. It's just such a good way to even just boost your productivity. I mean, I think mental wellness is good regardless. You don't necessarily need it to be the most productive person in the world, but it does also help you be productive because I think a lot of things slow you down. That's internal work.
So true. I love the Sam Harris app. It's funny because Sam Harris is like kind of known for being like atheist, agnostic, but the reason I love his app is it's like the most Buddhist connected app to meditation that I find. And I really like his voice as well. He has like 10-minute daily meditations as well as like all these little courses that you can do. And yeah, I just find it really like helps relax me. It's a nice like relaxing way to come back to little different Buddhist teachings or different teachings in general about like different styles of meditation. So the Waking Up app is a big one that I use.
I'll say the same thing too, Sammie. I said about podcast apps. Try different meditation apps. See which ones you like. See which ones resonate with you. I've used different ones. I've liked some. I didn't like others. It can be little things. Sometimes a voice speaks to you a little bit more. Like you said, sometimes it's connected to more religious texts that mean something to you. The meditation app you use is the best meditation app. So try different ones. Let us know if there's one that you really like. And I think it's a great way to spend whether 1 minute, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is you need to reset yourself. It's always a good practice, even if it's one that you do a little or a lot.
It's so true, Michelle.
The other thing, Sammie, for productivity with my health apps is I love a good period app. Sammie is not pleased because not only do I track my menstruation cycle, I have also started tracking hers.
She tracks my menstruation cycle. Before she goes off, let me tell you something. Personally, I feel like you tie a little bit too many conclusions to the period.
Wow.
You could be like, yeah, obviously I'm lazy today, okay? It's like my 14th day. Or I'll be like in a mood or something, or like moody, and then she'll just be like jotting down in her period app. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I have a genuine concern, and you're literally just turning it into something that's about my period.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know if you can get away with this if you're not a sister, if you're not a woman, TBH.
Yeah, like if you are a male thinking about doing this for your female partner,
maybe
this is my recommendation. Keep it on the DL and don't tell anybody because it's not going to go over well.
TBH, you should totally do it. But just for your own info, people hate, myself included, when you blame their period or their PMS or whatever it is on anything. But look, I think understanding your cycle is so powerful. We go through so many different ups and downs with our hormones and whatnot throughout the month. It's good to track it. I use the app Maya. I love it. I think it's really good. I also paid for this app called Hormone Horoscope. It's not what you think it is. Honestly, unfortunately, I would love a horoscope app attached to my period, but I don't have one. It's just a woman who's done a lot of scientific research, and it's less about predicting your period, but it tells you how you feel with everything, like your motivation, what you're eating, your sex drive, your romance, your money. It's literally everything. And so I like to just check that and see like, hey, I've been feeling kind of weird. Is it because of my period? And boom, it always is. But some people think it's horse crap.
I didn't say it's horse crap. Okay, I just said it's a little rude. Okay, when someone's trying to talk to you and express their feelings and you're just turning them into a little period science experiment.
I will say part of the reason I do it for me and Sammie is because we are business partners. We have this podcast together. And if we're both on a bad part of our cycle, that's not a good time for us to be pushing things forward, trying to churn out a ton of things. We will fight. We will be angry. But if we're like in that second week together and we're just in a good place, I'm like, let's do some work. Let's record some content. Like, we are powerful right now. So,
And since we're breaking the fifth wall right now, is that what it's called?
fourth wall.
Since we're breaking down the fourth wall right now.
I don't know what kind of pentagon-shaped rooms you're in.
We're breaking down some walls right now so you can see into what's happening behind the scenes.
I will also say I don't think you're using the term correctly.
Well, we'll see about that. Okay, because you don't even know what I'm going to say.
That's true.
Michelle and I don't know if this is a productivity tool necessarily, but I do find it to be a productivity tool. We previously did not set aside specific times for preparing for our podcast and recording the podcast. We would kind of just be like, Saturdays, we record the podcast. We would both have to try to wrangle each other into being in the mood to work on the podcast, and this would lead to a lot of tension between us, and we weren't creating our best work. And lately, like probably the past 10 episodes or so, we have created a structure where we have a specific time period on Saturdays or Saturday and Sunday if we have to record 2 podcasts, where we had a time period where we both separately prepare for the podcast, and then a time period, like an hour long, set for us to come together and record. And having this time period, it's like having that time set apart has really changed our productivity with our podcast. Like, just knowing that we have this time slot that we have to be accountable to helps so much. Because also, like, sometimes people want to make plans with us. This way, we always have a time scheduled for the podcast. And if something does come up, we have to consult with each other about it. So it really makes us accountable to each other.
She's got a point, right, people? See, that's breaking the fourth wall. That's when you speak directly to the audience.
Okay. I guess we never have a fourth wall then.
Yeah, I think podcast by nature.
Because like we're talking to the audience.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like we're talking to them directly always. But Sammie's right. It's a simple thing, but putting a schedule together has really made a big difference for us.
It's true. And audience, I have a question for you guys, because I am seeking an app where I can put things that are super long-term into some sort of system that can remind me. And I tried Todoist. That's what I'm working on, and I'm not sure if I'm just not using it well, but I don't find it to be great. Because for some reason, I don't get great notifications from this app reminding me to do the thing that I put down in there. I'll kind of notice it in my email later, or notice it when I randomly decide to click the app. But I need an app where things like renewing my car registration or my passport, things that are just so infrequent. I need something to help me remember to do those things. So if you're using something that you really like, or if you're using Todoist and you just have a better way of utilizing it, please contact me. I need help.
So you're looking for an app where you can mark in 6 months, remind me to do this.
Yes.
But you don't want to go and put it on your calendar. You want to
or in March 2030, I need to renew my passport.
Yeah, just so you know, you need to do that January 2023.
No, I have that in my to-do list. Okay, and I know that that's something I have to do because I'm trying to remember all my things. But I need something to help me remember all these things.
Okay, got it.
And something that's really good at helping you remember it too.
You want it. I think the thing about a calendar is you have to go and you pick a random date, and it doesn't really have a lot of meaning to it.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to text me maybe and be like, hey, you're 3 months away from this deadline. Something like that.
And it'd be nice if it was kind of intuitive, a new a passport is a big deal.
Yeah, sure. That'd be great. And then then I would check in the next day hey, you didn't check off the passport thing. Are you going to do it today, or when are you going to do it?
I agree. Let us know. Let us know, people. Quick takeaway. These are different productivity apps that you can use that we enjoy to organize our things, manage our time, help self-educate, and manage our health. Let us know what apps you use that you really like. I love hearing about other stuff that people are using that works well for them.
Me too.
Some of the stuff here I adopted because my friends, family, coworkers have suggested them. And I've tried things before that haven't worked that well for me. But I think it's so much about trial and error. And if you try any of these things, let us know as well. And share Status Post Adulting with a friend. On top of that, sign up for our newsletter for more great content.
Yes, and most importantly, be sure to join us next time as we put down the rulebook and rethink the status quo.